Hello everyone, welcome to this fourth video on Google Sheets. And as you can see, we are using COVID data which is available on Kaggle in this video series. And I'll again add the link to this datasheet in the video description. So, in the last video, we discussed a few important formulas that we use frequently in Google Sheet for analysis that were count a, count ifs, sum ifs. And at the end, we also discussed the use of if error while writing these formulas. And also the other way to write these formulas using filter function. So I'll just quickly go through the importance of if error and then we'll move ahead and create an automated report using this COVID data. So if error, if you remember from last video, in case of errors, if you are applying filter and there is no filter output, and if you are doing a count after applying filter, you'll get one even if there is no output of the filter condition that you have added. For example, here we have some country names and the quantities here are listed here. If you see the cell here, I'm just counting the number of countries for which this quantity is greater than equal to 100. Now, there is no such country here, but still county is giving me 1. Okay, because the output of this filter function is an error, and if you add county top of this filter function, it will give you 1. To avoid such error, what we do is we wrap this filter function with if error and then we do the count. So if you do this, you can see that because there is no such country where this quantity is greater than 100, the output is 0. So this is a very important way to write a formula in Google Sheet. So whether it is count A or if you use sum A, and it should be wrapped above the if error function, and in the innermost part you have this filter function, and then there is a column which you need to apply the filter on, and then there are conditions. So it would be conditions 1, conditions 2. So this is a pretty standard way in which I write formulas. So if you want to do count or count A, you'll use it. Otherwise, if you are using any numeric column and you want to get the sum, you'll use sum as the outermost function. So just remember this, and it would be very helpful while formulating any cell in Google Sheet. Okay, so yeah, okay, yeah. So this is very important. Just remember this. So now, as you can see, this data set here, we have a date field, country, and daily new cases, active cases. These columns are there. And then a few columns are added on the right here. So there is a country code, which is just a left function in Google Sheet where we can extract a few characters in the left of a column. So here we are applying this function on the country column. So here you can see the first two characters are extracted from Brazil, which is BR, and this column is added like this. Also, in many cases, you would like to use a date column to get year month. So if you have to create a report for every month of a particular year, then this column helps in such cases. So here, this is done using a text function, and using this and symbol, we can actually concatenate few texts fields. So here we are just extracting the year and then concatenating it with underscore and then with the month here. So these two columns are added here, and then the year column is also added here using that date field. Okay. So now, if you want to create a report like this, where you want to get the daily new cases for a particular month for each of these countries. So some of you who has used pivots, maybe they can do it using pivot. I mean, we will discuss pivots as well sometime later in this video series. But here I'll just show you how we can formulate it using the count sum filter combination of functions we discussed earlier. So here, first of all, we'll just create a table and then we'll add values in the in that particular table. So for this table, we need countries as a column and then different months as the header of this particular table. So then we'll apply a formula here. So these countries values are I'm extracting using unique function. So here you can see it's unique country. Now I'm just referring to this country. Now this is very important. So I'd like to cover this particular thing here, which is name ranges. So whenever you are writing a formula, if you are using name ranges, then the syntax becomes very clear. So in the earlier last video, we were picking up those columns from the data to write the formula. Here, what we will do, we'll name those columns and then use them in the formula. So how do we do that? How do we name a particular column in Google Sheet? So for that, you can go to data at the top and click on name ranges. So now you can see that there are four columns which are, in fact, three which are named here. The fourth one, there is a reference error because it has been deleted. We can delete it now. But yeah, there are three columns which are named here. And if you click on any of these name ranges, it will go back to that particular column. So if I click on country, you see that it is referring to this particular column which is present in this sheet COVID data. So you see COVID data column B, and that is named as country. Daily new cases, COVID data column D, and date, COVID data column A. Similarly, we can, if you have to add a name range here, you can just select a column, for example, this country code, and then if I click on add a range, I can add country code as a name here, and these names should not be separated by space. This would uh, you can add underscore here, but yeah, it should be a continuous field. And then if I click on done, then this name range is created. And if you have to make any changes here, you can click on this edit button. You can select a different column by clicking on here, or you can change the name here. So again, I'll just go through one more example. So here, if I want to create a name range for this particular column, year month, I'll select this column, click on add a range, and then I'll write year, month. Anything you wish to write, you can write, and then this name range is created. Now, why is it useful? So, using this, we can write formulas, and if by mistake, if we just have to refer that particular column or cell or anything to something else, we can just make a change in this name range uh, section, and then the formulas will automatically be updated. So that is a good thing here. And also, you don't need to go back to this particular sheet to write the formula. If you just remember the name that you have added to those columns, you can easily write a formula in a very clean way. So now here we want a monthly report where we want to see the daily new cases, the total daily new cases in a month for a particular country. Okay, so for that, you see this now we can extract year, month, and we can use that as well. But yeah, here I have done it differently because I just want to show you for date, for cases where we are using a date range, how we can write a formula using a filter function. So yeah, yes, so here I've just added this first date here, and then the end of the month for this particular date, that is written using a function here. So you see, end of month before 0. So for this particular month, whatever is the end of the month is here. Now when you have to create a report and you want to add these date ranges automatically, then what would be the value here? It's just 1 day more than this. So this is how it is. You can formulate it here. Okay, so it would be this plus 1. So it goes to the next month, the first day of the next month, and then end of the month formula here. And similarly, you can just drag this formula to the right, and it will update everything. So for each month, you get the first date and the last date. These are also formulated so that after this month, you get the first date of the next month, you get the first date of the next month like this, and the end date of these months are also there in the row below. Now, how can we write this formula? So, for example, if you have to get the number of daily new cases in April 2020 for Brazil from this data, what would you do? You'll apply a filter, select that particular date range here, and select that particular country here, and you will take the sum of the daily new cases here. So it's filter first and then sum later on. So same thing is done here in the formula. If you see the formula here, so it's filter first on daily new cases and sum later on. And just to make sure that there is no error, we are not just adding uh, so for some it won't matter much, but yeah, in case where you are writing functions with count a or count, it will create an error. So the best thing is to just every time if you are writing a formula, just wrap up the filter function with if error, and then only you use count or sum on top of that. So here if you see the formula, it's pretty straightforward. I want to get the sum of the daily new cases, filtering on the country which is present in A8, and the date range where date is greater than the value which is here in E4, less than the value which is here in E5. And I'm also adding a condition. So I just want to look for the sum of the daily new cases where it was greater than 5,000. So here that 5,000 is present in cell C1. And also I'd just like to highlight the other point here, because we want to use C1 in the formula here, and it is present in a cell, we are fixing both the row and the column. Okay, and this I have discussed in the last video as well. Again, for country, if you see, these countries are in a column and we want to use that column in the formula. That's why we are fixing the column part. So dollar A. So we are fixing A, and then rows can change. So it's 8 is not fixed. It can become 9, 10, 11 in the formula if we drag it down. Okay. Similarly for dates, because the dates values are in a row, we are fixing the row. So it's E dollar 4. So date should be greater than E dollar 4. Okay, so we want to look for numbers in the month of April. So it should be greater than equal to the 1st April 2020, and it should be less than equal to 30th April 2020. Again, the bottom row is also the values we are just picking up in the formula, and it is present in a row, so that is also fixed. So E dollar 5 is written here. And this is very important. This is how you write formula, so that even if you drag it on the right or on the left or bottom on the top, there is no problem with the formula. So we are not writing this formula everywhere. We don't need to write it everywhere. We can just write it in one cell, and then we can drag it to other cells, and the numbers will appear. So again, I'll just write the formula here. So it would be equal to sum if error filter daily new cases, because I know that in COVID data column D, I want to take the sum of those values only. So if I write daily new cases, I can see that it's referring to that particular name ranges, and that name range refers to COVID data D. Okay, then I'll click on tab, that is selected. And then the first filter I want to apply on country. So I'll write country. Again, this is a column country in the COVID data. Click on tab, and that should be equal to, now these countries on the left, they are in a column. So I'd like to freeze the column part. So dollar A, and the row is 8. Then date should be greater than equal to, so here I'm writing the formula in B8. So for that, it should be greater than equal to B4, whatever values is there in B4. And because it is in row, so B dollar 4 and comma, the next filter is again date should be less than equal to B dollar 5, and the last condition is daily new cases, that should be greater than equal to the value which is present here. So C1. So I'll just select C1, press F4, and then this both the row and column both are frozen here. Then I'll close all these brackets, and this formula is done. Okay, so this formula is done. Now, what do I need to do? I've just written the formula in this particular cell. I can just drag it on the right, and then this whole row is selected, and then I can just drag it to the bottom. And all this, the formula is updated in each cell in this table that we have created. Now the next thing I would like to show, so now this is kind of automated, semi automated. We can do a lot of things here. I'll just show you one more. So so this is for year 2020. You can see the date starts from first month of 2020 to the last month of 2020. What if you want to see the result for 2021? So from here also we can do, because the series is kind of formulated. I'll just double click here. I'll select the 1st of January 2021. And these all months, these all date range gets updated to the dates in 2021, and this number is updated. This is how it is automated. And now if I just want to look for all the numbers, I don't want to filter these records for 5,000. If I change C1 to 0, these numbers again change. Okay, so there are no cells where it's 0. If I just want to look for the sum of cases when it was greater than, say, 1 million. So are there any days in this year? Let's see. No, there was not a single instant in 2021 when any of these countries has total daily new cases greater than a million. What if I change it to 100,000? There are some cases. So this way, in this formulated table, you can just uh, you can change the year, you can change the daily new cases limit, and then numbers will appear accordingly. So this is how I'm saying that it is kind of automated here. And I'll again go through the formula just to revise it, and this is very important. So the sum if error filter, this way of writing the formula is very important, and because you have added a name range earlier, the syntax here is very clear. So filter on daily new cases where country is A8, date is greater than B4, date is also less than B5, and daily new cases are greater than equal to the value present in C1. Okay, and you can add some conditional formatting on top of this. So you select all these cells. Maybe if you want to bold the numbers, or if you want to add conditional formatting, click on conditional formatting. And if it is equal, or if it is greater than or equal to, say, 1 million, then market trend. So yeah, so we, this way we can see that the sum of the daily new cases where the daily new cases were greater than 1 lakh or 100,000, what was the total value in that particular month? Okay, so for India you can see. So so this is how you can create a formulated tabular report in Google Sheet. We'll discuss from here in the next video. If you like the video, do subscribe my channel and share it amongst your friends. Yes, I'll repeat it again at the end. Just remember this for sure.